Alright, but before we get started with this video, YouTube, I just gotta say thank you for showing so much love on that last video. I am at a loss for words for all of the support that you guys showed on that last upload. So, and so much love that I just gotta share, because some of the stuff that you guys have wrote or typed wrote, like I imagine like someone's like actually writing, handcrafting their comment and mailing it to YouTube. Hey, can you upload this for me, please? No, it's stupid. But anyways, but yeah, I'm like, I can't believe like some of the crazy BS that you guys just type in. I don't know, there's a lot of comments here. I'm just gonna cherry pick my favorite ones here, but yeah, I just want to share with you guys because like I just want to share some of the crazy memes that like some of you guys are thinking of. Like there's a whole meme like in this entire thread that everyone just piggybacked off of. And like, I don't know, it's just one of those things that just like the stars aligned, you know, and it just worked. I don't know, but here's like everyone all of a sudden just started saying instructions unclear, and which I guess is fitting for the video because it was kind of like this pseudo instructional video on how to become a Persona user, and everyone just bandwagon piggyback off of this one person, just like, hey, instructions unclear. like here's one comment from my boy. His name is actually my boy, which is a fitting name. This guy's dope. Instructions unclear. I'm now a door. Oh my goodness. I got one from my boy Zane over here, not to be confused with my boy for the last comment. Instructions are not clear. My blue eyes white dragon didn't come alive. Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that, dude. I would just say repeat steps through 1 through 5 and you should get there right there. Let's see, we got another one here. Instructions unclear. I have a hole in my head. Yeah, that's kind of like one of the flaws of being a Persona 3 user. So here's a band-aid. I don't know, good luck with that. Can we get an F in the chat for our boy Oven Mitts? Yeah, Oven Mitts over here. Yeah, he's gonna have to block that one off. We got another one here from Gappy. Oh boy. I'm not sure what instructions you were following, but instructions unclear. I'm in the ER for tearing my skin off. It's like, damn, dude. That escalated so quickly. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. We got another one here. From Ravioli. Ravioli, give me the formioli. Anyone get that reference? I mean, you better. Instructions unclear. I'm now in a relationship with several women. I think, King, you dropped this one. That's a W in my book, King. All right. This guy's truly winning right here. I don't know how he got that from my instructions, but hey, follow his lead, fam. Ravioli knows the secret strat. Got another one here from Jackson Bear. All right. Instructions unclear. Ruined my copy of Trial of the Dragon.
Oh, my Trial of the Dragon!
That's a good reference for my P4 peeps out there. Whatever you do, don't tell Chihei. Yeah, so we'll just move on. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. Okay, we got one from Isaac Ferguson. All right. Instructions unclear. Got stuck in a castle with the worst teacher in the school, wearing nothing but a thong. Send help. All right, all I have to say is,
how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
Okay, we got another one. Tony plays games. I think a lot of us play games, Tony. Instructions unclear. Use the gun instead of an invoker. Seems like our boy Tony is in the same boat as our boy Oven Mitts. I think they can make good friends with each other. They both got holes in their head. Instructions unclear. I'm now bleeding out from my eyes. Mr. Oshawa Bros. I think that's a different problem you may have, dude. Oh my goodness. I think that's some like Final Fantasy 14 type stuff. Have any of you played Shadowbringers? You got those Sin Eaters just bleeding from the eyes right here. Oh, wait, no, what am I talking about? No, Mr. Oshawa Bros, you gotta, who's changed Mr. Oshawa Bros' heart? Who killed him? No, someone killed him in a palace. Mr. Oshawa Bros, no. We're supposed to steal the hearts, not kill the shadow. Oh my goodness. I think we need to find. We have a new killer on the loose. We got a killer on the loose. We got to find out. Can we get another F in the chat? Yeah, another F in the chat for Mr. Oshawa Bros. Someone, yeah, killed his shadow in his own palace without actually stealing his heart. But I will say, dude, if you're bleeding from the eyes and you have a palace, maybe you have some injustices that you need to answer for. I'm not saying we need to kill you, but I'm just saying, like, maybe something deeper here. What's going on, dude? What you doing? Huh? What you doing? All right, that's enough. I just want to say thank you for so much love. All right. Let me know what was your favorite response to that last video. Me personally, I actually kind of like Mr. Oshawa Bros. I didn't get that I didn't get that one at first, but I get it now. Bleeding from the eyes. Oh my goodness. I think my personal favorite though is from Ravioli. Yeah, our boy Ravioli. Now in a relationship with several women. Follow his example, chat. All right, follow his example. All right. He knows the real strats. All right, let's get to the vid, man. Now, after this bomb that Atlus has decided to just drop during a random Nintendo Direct Mini, all I have to say is, they winning. All right? Atlus is winning, fam. This is it. This is exactly what they need to do. This is exactly what they need to do. Now, this video is going to be kind of different before I end up finding out, or we all found out about this news of SMT just getting so much love from Atlus. All right, we get an HD remaster of SMT Nocturne, you know, classic Nocturne, featuring, well, not featuring Dante from Devil May Cry. It's not that version, but still, the game looks gorgeous. Looks so, actually, it's kind of like pretty vibrant from the drab colors and muted color palette of the original, but still looks good. Still pretty haunting. It still has the very influential art style of SMT Nocturne that looks oh so good. But that's not the only thing. They also finally gave us a new trailer and release window for SMT5 out of nowhere. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna drop a little Nintendo Direct Mini, you know, don't even worry about it. It's barely even 8 minutes long. And then, hey, they just have a whole slot saved up for it. Half the video was saved for Atlus in their announcements, which is, hey, I'll take it. That's freaking amazing. SMT5 went like 3 years without anything, without any news at all. And here they are, just dropping, here you go. You may enjoy this. I heard you like some SMT. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, totally took me by surprise. So yeah, that kind of changed the format and direction of the video that I wanted to do for you guys today. This was definitely going to be more of a discussion video from the beginning, but it was more like discussing the direction on where Atlus needs to go. How can they really please their fans? And more specifically, how can they please the fans of SMT? Because you gotta remember, Atlus has gained a lot of popularity because of Persona, but their tried and true flagship series, their mainline series, a lot of people like to call it, is SMT, Shin Megami Tensei. That's where all of Atlus's games, or at least most of them, derive from. You know, they're spin-offs of SMT games. So to put it simply, Persona, what is it, like Devil Summoner Saga? I'll be real with you, I'm not completely versed in SMT lore and games. I'm learning still, all right? I am an originator of the Persona franchise. I came into Atlus and became a fan through Persona 4 Golden, back on the Vita, you know, back in 2013. So 2013 is a long time ago, but still, in comparison to the library of what Atlus is as a whole, it's just a small fraction compared to their work back in the early 90s. You know, if any of us were even born back then, you know. But yeah, with like, I think it was like Persona If was even like one game of theirs, or Shin Megami If, I don't know. I'm mixing my words here. You can all correct me. The point is, it's about time that they showed some love to their core fan base. And that's something that I can definitely appreciate and empathize with. because hey, I'm if I'm gonna talk about my little history, I am an old school Final Fantasy head. All right, Final Fantasy series was my jam before I got into Persona, and let's just say that our relationship's quite complicated. All right, we'll just leave it at that. We're not gonna open up all that dirty laundry, but this is some very good news from Atlus, and one of the plays that they really needed to make to really show that they hear us, they hear you guys, you SMT fans that really are showing your support, are just craving for some more information and some more respect from Atlus and acknowledgement just for these old games. And now you're finally getting the attention that you deserve and receiving information about SMT5, finally a release window of 2021. That's amazing. And it's one of the things that Atlus really need to do. They also released a remastered version, a completely overhauled version to Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. The game looks like it was reworked from the ground up, possibly. These look like they could be even new models. I could be wrong. They could be up-res, but either way, regardless, it looked gorgeous. The game looks amazing, and this is definitely one way for Atlus to introduce the new Persona fans, kind of like me, or even newer fans from Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. There are a lot of very new Persona fans that have no idea where Atlus's origins truly begin. And this is one way that Atlus can truly bridge the divide between the SMT fans and the new modern Persona fan base. Because let's just say the tensions aren't really that mutual between the two fan bases. Persona fans are just over here on the little island in the playground, just having all fun and everything. And then you got SMT fans looking all smug. Man, how can they be happy? Why do they get so much attention? Daddy, don't you love me anymore? That's the that's the type of vibes I've been getting from the SMT fans, which is totally justified, to be kind of mean mugging a little bit and being a little bit smug. Now, I hope I'm not overreaching my boundaries here, but that's just like my perspective on the relationship and the dichotomy between the two fan bases. There's a grudge, there's like a chip on the shoulder on the gritty SMT fans. Which, don't get me wrong here, I'm not showing any shade or throwing any hate. It's just, I see the struggle that you guys have gone through and the lack of acknowledgement that you guys haven't received. That's all it is. It all comes from love. Truly. I mean that. So, now we finally got actual acknowledgement from Atlus as far as SMT actually existing. So this is a good way for newer fans, Persona fans, to actually be introduced into the franchise of Atlus's whole library and actually explore some more great RPGs. Because at the end of the day, aren't we all RPG fans? I really think that's what it is at the heart of it. We're all fans of RPGs, and that's where we all can come together and just, let's face it, rejoice in that we actually have some good RPGs now. Because there was a dark time where, man, it feels like classic RPGs are just gone. Classic turn-based RPGs, that is a genre that's definitely my favorite. My favorite genre is just, man, there was a point where you didn't even differentiate between Western RPGs and JRPGs. It was just RPGs. At least I never did. I never used that connotation of JRPG to define the type of game that I like. I just said I like RPGs, and that's all it was. But now it's like this even more meta distinction that we need to just create even more boundaries, create even more tribes, and just no, cut that stuff out. Stop it. At the end of the day, we all love games, and we all of us love RPGs, and that's what we're getting here now. So, what else does Atlus need to do moving forward? That's the main point of this whole discussion video that I have for you guys. The first thing was acknowledging SMT fans, and surprisingly, it seems like they have been listening, which is awesome. But how else can they do that? Well, one way is that's been kind of looming in everyone's mind for the most part, I believe. At least it has been looming over my mind. And I hear discussions that people talk about it all the time is remakes, remakes of classic Persona games. And why stop there? Why not even remake some classic SMT games while we're at it? But Persona's more my wheelhouse, so that's what we're gonna focus on for right now. If you guys want to, let me know in the comments, and I'll even dive into some SMT stuff. I'll do my own homework, I really need to get more versed into Atlus's whole catalog, and that's one way to do it. So if you guys actually show interest into learning more about the whole Atlus library of games from SMT all the way to Persona, let me know, and I'll definitely tackle that for you guys. But for right now, we'll focus on Persona. And one big thing that has been looming on everyone's head is like, what's the next game for Atlus? Is it going to be Persona 6? Well, as we could see how long it took them to do Persona 5, maybe they need a little bit of a break. Which I wouldn't blame them. And it also is another game that they have on the pipeline is Project Refantasy, if I remember that correctly. I'll put an image above in the video to make sure that it was actually correct later in my edits. But I believe that's what it's called, and I think that the main director and creator of Persona is working on this project, Refantasy. We only heard about it like right after Persona 5 first came out, vanilla, like back in 2016, 2017 type era. And that was the last time that we heard that, like, yeah, he's working on a new project, a new fantasy game, the new JRPG. And as you do, you don't hear from it for another whatever how many years. We haven't heard anything. We just know that that's what he's working on. And another team is working on the next Persona game, whatever that may be. Now, the context of where Atlus is positioning themselves with internally has kind of left open the discussion of a Persona 6 may be a little bit much to just jump right into, with Persona 5 basically at its peak right now, peak popularity of Persona. So maybe it's time to take a little bit of step back, do something a little bit more reserved, and maybe look at some of the older games in the franchise. One game that always comes to mind is Persona 3. Persona 3 already has gained a lot more love than it usually has. It's been a while. One thing to remember with Persona 3, it just had its own dancing game spin-off recently released alongside of Persona 5's dancing game. So like, yeah, they already have models of those characters already made from that game that are totally usable right now, So it's not out of the realm of possibility of them to actually take those assets, repurpose them for Persona 3 Remake. And a lot of people were clamoring for a Persona 3 Remake. It was even trending at one point because a fan made this Persona 3 mock-up. And it's like, dude, it's not real, but fans thought it was real. So there's obviously love for this game that people want. And the only thing that's like a barrier to entry for Persona 3, and actually not just Persona 3, for a lot of the older Persona games, is just accessibility. That's the hardest thing and the biggest hurdle that a lot of people have to accessing these games. So a lot of these games just need to be updated and brought over into the modern era, the modern generation. I mean, look what happened to Persona 4 Golden. That is crushing Steam charts at this very moment, crushing records, setting 500,000 copies or digital downloads of Persona 4 Golden downloaded in like the first week of even being live. That's absurd. That's insane. So people want to play these older games. They want to be immersed into the franchise. They want to learn more about the franchise. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. Now, Atlus is in the perfect position that it's ever been. Atlus needs to start taking those old properties, port, Persona 3 Fest onto Steam, port Persona 3 Portable onto Steam. One of them, give the female protag some love. That's what they need to start doing. There's already enough. There's enough love right there. Another thing to keep in mind about Persona 3 is that it was more of a soft reboot for the whole franchise as a whole. Looking at the design elements and decisions in that game, you can definitely see the progression of where things have come from and things have derived from when you look at Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. And there are little things in there that probably wouldn't gel well with a lot of people in this current landscape of Persona fans. But with SMT right around the corner, maybe it can actually prepare people for what older SMT games are like. But Persona 3 is definitely a good introduction to all that. How do you handle those old archaic design elements? Well, let me be more specific here. One of the biggest things in P3 that is kind of a barrier to entry to some players is the structure of Tartarus. Now, without delving too much into spoilers, just to give you a basic landscape of what Tartarus is, think of mementos in Persona 5, all right? Tartarus is this giant labyrinth of a tower that basically you have to scale by the end of the game to reach the true ending of the game, Everything is structured around Tartarus, you clearing floors, clearing different sections, taking down bosses, very similar to Mementos. Mementos has different levels, different sections that are sectioned off by each palace ruler, and after they are defeated. And that's how you progress through the game, and we all know what happens when you actually finally get to the bottom of Mementos, all right? It's very similar to P3. The only problem with P3, it's super long. To put it simply, it's so long, archaically long, and it can kind of throw off the pacing of the overall game for a lot of people. You know, that's really the biggest issue with Tartarus. There's like over like 250 floors in that thing compared to Mementos like 100 or something like that. Mementos is very scaled down in comparison to Tartarus, and it's way more approachable and digestible when actually for the player, because you can probably go into Mementos like 4 times in your whole playthrough of Persona if you play it right, if you're really going for that min-maxing playthrough. Tartarus is a bit different. It's not that easy and you can't just ignore it. And let me just tell you, some of those bosses in that Tartarus mode and in Tartarus are quite the handful, let me just say. So that's one thing they have to like address about a Persona 3 remake. Another thing to look out for is the design of social links. So social links originated in P3 itself. That's really like the foundational structure in its infancy, and like really Atlus playing around the idea of diving into that anime social life simulator that Persona kind of embodies now, that visual novel aspect that Persona really takes a lot of influence from. So when you look at the structure of how social links were in the original Persona 3, for one thing, in your main party, when I mean your main party, you're talking about like your Fuka, your Yukari, Junpei, Mitsuru, you know, all of them, you know, Akihiko, your main party members of Persona users, your cast that you have at your disposal, you can only have social links with the girls. You know, it kind of limited some story progression and like, you know, getting some insight as far as how some characters interacted. You couldn't interact with anyone else like how you can with modern Persona games, you know? How you can interact with Yusuke in P4 or Ryuji in P5. You couldn't interact with Junpei that way. You couldn't have his own social link line. They didn't have one. They only got one later when the female protagonist came along in Persona 3 Portable. So that's something that they probably would have to do. They would have to integrate a modern social link system, a modern confidant system, to allow to have, you know, social link routes for the guys and the girl characters. Not only that, you may think this is pretty weird, but there was also a jealousy system in there as well. So if you're talking to one girl, all right, you talking to one shorty, you got your shorty over here, you know, you're showing some love, you know, showing your attention, and then you got Mitsuru in the back. It's like, hey, what about me? You know, what are you talking to this bitch for? It's like, oh crap. You know, they actually would get jealous and it would impede your progression on the social link of that character. So you only can commit to one girl. You didn't even have the option to befriend other female characters, you know, more platonic relationships. You couldn't even do that. Either is like you had to go into a full-on commitment with this girl if you were gonna go for their social link. Because if you spent any other time with any other girl, you had the risk of actually damaging your social link with another female character, because you would get jealous and it would even backtrack on the progression of your Persona link, making it even harder just to max out a social link with even just one character. So I understand the concept of where they were coming from. They're trying to make it a little bit more realistic, you know, but maybe they went a little bit too far in the realism, you know, and maybe they can bring this concept back, because it's not a bad concept per se, but the execution of it was very primitive. It was too punishing for the player as far as interacting with other different characters of the same sex, the girls. So maybe they can just like tweak it a little bit, you know, they don't get jealous as quickly, and you can like start early on if you want to be in a romantic relationship or just a friendly platonic relationship. Maybe you can actually have options in the dialogue, because we have that now, you know, they just happen later in the confidant line. But maybe if they have that option earlier, like in the midway point, it's like, hey, you know, do you want to start a relationship? You know, you bring up that question, and then you can, you know, designate what this social link progression route is going to be. Is it going to be a romantic relationship, or is it going to be a platonic relationship? And then that way, if you choose to be just platonic with somebody, it doesn't affect your relationship with the other character, and it doesn't cause jealousy. You know, it's just like, hey, no, boo, no, Mitsuru and I, no, we chill, we friends, we chilling, all right? You know, I only have eyes for you, Yukari, you know, or whatever, you know, that type of thing, you know? Like, those are the biggest design things that they would actually have to, like, overcome with Tartarus and the social link system in P3. Not much needs to be really done. They already got the story, you know, they already got the gameplay stuff really down, packed and hammered down, and that's why a lot of people are so interested in a remake in the older Persona games, because all the content's there, all the stuff's there, they just need to basically update the game, you know? That's for the most part, you know. Now, going further back into the Persona catalog, you know, with Persona 2 and Revelations Persona, things get a bit different, all right? Things get way more complicated, to say the least, because like I said before, Persona 3 was a soft reboot to the franchise. It really set the identity of Persona moving forward. This JRPG that flirted with these anime social simulator sim gameplay mechanics, these visual novel gameplay mechanics. That's really what Persona has evolved into over time since Persona 3. Now, when looking at the first two games, Revelations Persona and Persona 2, they are very more traditional JRPGs. These games don't have social links, they don't have your progression system of, you have this giant labyrinth to scale throughout the course of the game. They play out way more traditionally. Now, with Revelations Persona 1, they have some very interesting and very experimental gameplay mechanics. Same with Persona 2, they have some very experimental gameplay mechanics. So with Revelations Persona, there's two branching paths. There's this infamous Snow Queen route that completely changes the direction of the game and changes what enemies and bosses you fight in the total direction of the story, So like they actually have like midway through the game, there's two branching paths. That's crazy, and just so much player freedom as far as how you actually want to proceed in your campaign, increasing replayability to boot, And that's just one example. In Persona 2, the duology of Persona 2, Eternal Punishment and Original Sin, they're sequels of each other. There are two games in their own canonical story. Something vastly different when we see in the current landscape of what Persona games do now. And they're rocking on the rumor system. So a basic rundown with the rumor system is that you can almost kind of see them as side quests that kind of manipulate the environment around you and makes things come true. So like you can go around the school and the neighborhood and the city that the Persona 2 characters live in, talking to different NPCs and hearing about these different stories that people hear about. And the whole gimmick about Persona 2, when you see a rumor and hear about it, you can enact that rumor to make it actually come to life, to make it actually become real. So the thing with rumors is that they're just, they're sayings with a hint of realism, a hint of believability. How real is a rumor? That's the whole thing. And you're actually going around making all these fake truths become a reality, actually making them become real. And it changes the whole dynamic of the story and how you progress through the system. And it gives you so much freedom as far as how you want to progress through the story. Some of them, of course, are obviously required, but it also leads to some missable things as well. So it gives the player a lot of agency and a lot of freedom as far as how they want to progress through the story. Consider that's vastly different compared to what Persona is now, that is a way more linear driven narrative. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different style of game. So how do you mix those two types of styles? That's the underlying question that Atlus sees before themselves. How do you address these games that are just so vastly removed from modern Persona games? Persona 1 and 2 are way more enriched with the legacy of SMT, and you will definitely find more SMT fans gravitating towards those first two original Persona games because of how familiar they are. Now, if you were going to remake one of these games, what would you do? You have two options. You could be either way more faithful, or you can either be way more, I don't want to say pandering because that's a very loaded word, it's a very triggering word, but it's almost catering to the modern Persona audience. That's something that Atlus just needs to decide what they're going to do, and there's no going back on either one. Now, the only hope that I have that they actually may do a more traditional game so they can introduce modern Persona fans to the older games and be way more faithful is because that they're introducing SMT to the modern Persona fans now. And that's one way to really merge and shorten the divide between SMT and Persona. It needs to go away because if it gets any larger, I think it's just even way more detrimental to both sides as a whole. It's like if Square Enix completely neglected Final Fantasy and focused solely on Kingdom Hearts, and they've only made Kingdom Hearts for like 10 years straight, and there was no Final Fantasy games at all, except with Square, they don't make any games. Everything's getting delayed and whatnot. Development times lasting over 10 years. I'm sorry. A bit of a tangent coming out. But either way, my point is they can't neglect either side. So if they were going to make a Persona 2 more akin to Persona 3, 4, and 5, what we need to change? Well, social links we need to be added. That's a whole system that's not even featured in Persona 2, and it is a selling point to modern Persona fans. They play Persona games for that social interaction, for that social sim interaction. You know, people need to get those waifus, people need to get those husbandos. You know, that's what people want. You know, people do like that aspect of it. I'll be real, even I like that aspect of it. But I can disassociate myself with that and still enjoy P2 on its own. I'm currently playing P2 on my Vita at the moment. The Vita's a great virtual console machine, and I'm loving it. I actually do enjoy it. You know, it's very nostalgic to the traditional JRPGs of old, and that's what I like it for. But either way, that's something that they would have to consider. If they add a social link system, they would have to make all new social link lines for each character in that game. And structurally, that actually may not work. Persona 2 and Persona 1 does not function on a calendar system. The calendar system that was introduced in P3. That's right, you can just play Persona 2 and just play. You don't have to worry about your time management. You don't have to worry about your school life. You don't have to worry about your jobs, your friendships, your social links, none of that. You don't have any of that to manage, you know? It's a completely different game from the modern Personas. And thinking about it now, it makes me even harder to believe that they even could make a modern Persona 1 and 2, which leads me to believe that the traditional, more faithful route is the only way to go, unless you just completely overhaul these games to where, at that point, they're not even the same games anymore. So why even remake them? There's no point. At least I don't think there's a point in remaking them. At that point, they're going to be so far removed to what their original source material was, it lost the essence of what made those games special. So you may not even be able to remake those games. And the only one that's on the table of actually possibly being remade is Persona 3, because it's the one that set a new precedent for the franchise moving forward. It set its own identity and became its own thing at the end of the day. And so, when looking at Revelations Persona and Persona 2, more traditional remakes would have to be made. You know, they can even fit the traditional Persona art style if you want, but in that same line, they will not have the same design fundamentals that you see in modern Persona games now. And that's something that modern Persona fans that have to like just take with a grain of salt. Just take it, you know, just take it for what it is. Accept it for what it is. They're still fun games in their own right. And I think it leaves open the possibilities of even branching out Persona of what it could be in the future. If they introduce P2 and P1 as their own games, traditional games that they are in the series, this gives an opportunity for Persona fans to see a new type of Persona game to be played. And maybe people will even love it. You know, you don't know until you actually try. So I think my point is, at the end of the day, I think these games should be given a fair shot. I think these two games, because they bring so much to the table and they were so creative and ahead of their time, that they didn't get much love when they first were released. So keep them, preserve them for what they were, you know, be completely faithful to what those games were, and introduce them to a new audience. Because I think these games can strive on their own as they are. So, you know, up-res them, give them pretty graphics, all that type of stuff. That's the things that you can do with it, and introduce them to this new Persona, this new Atlus fan base. That's right. We're not going to distinct between SMT or Persona anymore. The Atlus umbrella, the Atlus fan base, you know, that's what it should be now. You know, that's what they should market it as. No more divides, just Atlus RPGs. All right, but was this useful? I hope it was useful. And I was getting kind of passionate with it all. But that's just some of the things that are on my head. And this is, at the end of the day, this is a discussion. You know, I want to talk. I want to talk with SMT fans and new Persona fans. I want to hear your all perspectives on these games. How do you think Atlus should proceed? Should they proceed by, you know, making traditional remakes of Persona 1 and 2 and even 3? Hey, do a raw Persona 3 without any changes and just give it to people. Or should these games be a little bit more tailored? You know, should P3 go through its changes, fix the social link system, give us a female protagonist to play with, fix up Tartarus, don't make it as heavy-handed as it is in the original game, you know, fix those type of quality design elements. And going further, should they just overhaul Revelations Persona and Persona 2? Should they overhaul those games and make them for a more tolerable, a more modern Persona palette? You know, that's my question for you guys. You know, this is a discussion. We're Persona and chilling right now. You know, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your perspectives, and because everyone's valid. You know, we're all fans of Atlus. We're all fans of RPGs at the end of the day. We may not agree as far as like how these series should be handled, but we won't know unless we talk. And that's what I want to do. Talk with me so I can talk with you, and then we can discuss on how Atlus should proceed, and maybe we can come under one mind and say, this is how we can make these games better. This is how we can make this franchise better and just move forward into the future. But I've rambled enough. I've talked you guys' ear off. So I had fun. Hope you guys had fun at the end of the day. Let me stop rambling. I don't know. As I always do. Catch you later, fam. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Remember, go down, comment, subscribe, please. All that YouTube, general shit, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. For real now. Catch you later, fam.
Show down the smoke and show me the window, show what I'm told. Don't forget that this world is so cold. I don't even know, searching no more. Tell me what I want, keep searching on. Snap flying out, stop at the car, run out the gun. I wouldn't give one if I could find a fun.